Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I was about to report a story about somebody going missing again on a cruise ship. Unfortunately, I do have an update to that and it's not a great outcome. In Canada, it seems like the cruise season is starting because many different ports here in Canada have now had their first cruise ships arrive, and we're getting ready for the full season to start kicking off soon. Of course, it gets busier in the fall, but hey, cruising is back in Canada, and that's a good thing. Also, we have a story, a warning, a heads up, and I don't know what else to say. A family with 7 young kids, all under the age of 16, missed their cruise. But is it their fault? Is it the airline's fault? Is it the cruise line's fault? Unfortunately, I was about to do a story on a cruise passenger who went overboard just outside of Sydney Harbor on the Pacific Explorer, but as I was getting ready to record, an update came out, and unfortunately a body has been found by rescue services. And it is believed that this is the gentleman who went overboard and did not have a good ending to the rescue, unfortunately. It was an Elvis-themed cruise, and the ship was literally just outside Sydney Harbor. You can see here in this diagram of the rescue plane search pattern looking for him. It was also very rough seas, windy seas at the time, which really hampered rescue efforts from going on. I'm sure the crew did everything they could, and the rescue obviously just in those conditions, the timeline of lasting once you land in the water, it's minutes, not hours, unfortunately, in these types of conditions. So condolences again go out to friends and families. These are not fun stories to cover, but we kind of have to cover them to let people know to be aware and keep an eye on your friends and family when you're on a cruise ship, because you never know what they may be going through, because people going through stuff like this and doing stuff like this can hide it very well, and you never ever know. So just do your best to keep an eye out on your loved ones. Next, we have cruises here in Canada are off to a full start. We've had the Voldam was in Montreal, kicked off her season, Montreal's first cruise ship of the season. We've already had cruise ships up in PEI. We've had cruise ships up in Nova Scotia. We've had cruise ships up in Quebec City. And of course, Vancouver and Victoria have had cruise ships as the Alaska season is kicked off as well. So that means we're pretty much all up and running now. It won't get real big. Of course, Vancouver, our west coast, will be very busy all the time starting now. But the east coast will have sporadic cruises until those fall Canadian cruises really kick into full gear, and suddenly there's 10 to 11 ships showing up every 2 or 3 days, which is going to be really good for business out there. But it's a good sign that spring is finally here when the cruise ships start to show up in Eastern Canada. Finally, I have this story of a family of 8, 7 young children, all under the age of 16. Well, they missed their cruise, and they're blaming the airline, and the airline says it was their fault, but people are also blaming the family. So let's dive into that story and see what happened. But before I get there, hey, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up to date with everything going on in cruising, ships that are breaking down, ships that are changing ports, new ships coming online, and basically tips and tricks to make your next cruise just a little bit better, a little bit safer, and maybe even save you some money in the meantime. I really do appreciate it when you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button once in a while, and hey, leave a comment. I do read them all. Don't always get a chance to respond, but I read a ton of comments every single day. And again, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's talk to this family who were going on a Bahamas cruise, 7-day cruise. And they flew in the day of the cruise. That's right. They were trying to fly in the day of the cruise, which is a big warning, right? A big warning sign. Next, they flew in Spirit Airlines, which is known as an economy airline. However, they did say that they could have paid more to go with Southwest and another airline, but they were recommended Spirit by their travel agent because their agent worked for Spirit Airline. I'm not sure that story. But here, let me just read this post, and we can decide what you think. Who was at fault here? First, long post alert. I have never flown Spirit Airlines, and now I know why. This morning, myself and 7 children arrived to the MSY airport to board our 5:22 a.m. flight to head to Miami to board our cruise to the Bahamas. I knew this flight was full because when I checked in online the day before, they were already offering bids to be rebooked. That's never a good sign when the day before, when you're checking in, they offer rebooking. That means they're oversold, period. Bad sign. We were denied boarding on the flight and told to go back to the ticket counter because I was traveling with an infant. When I get back upstairs at the ticket counter, she tells me that I will not be allowed to board because I did not board when they called for family. So I never do. I'm traveling with a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old. If you board early, you'll be sitting in those uncomfortable seats for 2 hours before the plane leaves with wiggly, whining children. The flight was still boarding. We just went the regular boarding and were denied. They told us we were bumped to the next flight, which would arrive after our cruise stopped boarding. When I told them this and told them I wanted to speak to the manager told me now he can only change our flight for a $99 per person rebooking fee because we were marked as no-shows. How are we no-shows and I owe you money? This has literally been the worst experience ever. No other airline could get us there on time as a group. United could put us up on 2 different flights. There were literally 15 people Googling and calling, trying to find us other airlines to other airports. Complete strangers were blanked. An attendant in another airline explained that this was done because the plane was too heavy and someone had to get off anyway. Spirit didn't offer a credit, a rebooking waiver, anything for 7 round-trip flights, and obviously you get no refund on the cruise fares the day of the cruise. I'm literally out thousands of dollars. So right off the bat, let's get some things straight. She did have some travel insurance for the cruise, but it doesn't cover, obviously, shore excursions paid out, specialty dining paid out, anything that she booked like that, that's not covered, so that's money out of her pocket. The flights for the airline, etc., the traveling expenses, babysitters, time off work, all that kind of stuff is gone. Not to mention, she didn't get to go on the cruise. Now, I guess I am that person who, this is still on you. Yes, the airline completely messed this up. The airline goofed up. The things that go on with American type airlines compared to us in Canada, we have a different regulation system, and the airlines in Canada don't overbook or oversell their flights. The only time you'll see them offering money to push your flight is if another flight got canceled and they're trying to get some people to a destination on your flight. They will offer people a reward for switching flights, but they will not oversell, like they're not going to sell 2 tickets to that. That doesn't happen. It's against the law here in Canada. In the United States, this is common practice. Airlines oversell all the time. All the time. I don't know how many times I've flown on different, Southwest, American Airlines, United, and I'm sitting there and they're offering $200, $300, $400 for other people to switch their flights for people. I see it all the time, which is one of the reasons I stick to my Canadian Airlines whenever possible, even when I'm sailing to a destination offered by the cruise line and they want to pay for my flights. I still pay for my own flights, so I don't have to go through that hassle, and I fly through my Canadian Airlines just because I need to make sure that I'm getting to the destination. Next, though, on her. Flying in the day of, unless you live an hour away, 2 hours away from the cruise line, and you can definitely make it there on time, no, do not fly ever on the same day. So many things can happen wrong. So many things. It is crazy to try and book and land on the same day. Even a short flight of 2 hours can be pushed back. I was flying back from Orlando. I land in Toronto, and that flight's delayed 2.5 hours. It's a 40-minute flight. It took longer to get on the plane than it did to do the plane flight. So yeah, never, ever, ever fly in the day of the cruise. It just does not make sense. Yes, you're saving money on a hotel, but in this case, it cost her an awful lot more money. And now she's looking at the airline for more than just refunds or another flight like credits. She wants them to pay for all the other stuff, the missed cruise, et cetera, et cetera. And as much as she might want that, the airlines aren't going to do that. And you can talk to a lawyer, you can try and sue them, but the way the regulations work, chances are the only thing you can possibly get back is the money for the flights. And that's it. Just the way their regulations are written. Plain and simple. Unfortunately, we're on the low end of this argument. We don't have the power. Even if you brought in a lawyer, chances are you're not going to win this argument at all. They're going to just say, sorry, there was a mistake, here's your money back, and that's it. They are not responsible for anything missed after that. And that's where we come into problems. So if anything is pulled away from this, do not fly in the same day. Do not. It is a recipe for disaster, especially since the restart from the pandemic. Airlines, believe it or not, are still understaffed and still trying to recover from that. They still haven't gotten all the pilots back, all the stewardesses back, all the attendants back inside the ticket booths and everything. They are still short-staffed everywhere. And you will see flights delayed every single day at an airport. I don't think I've been in an airport in the past 2 years that hasn't seen at least something delayed or canceled up on the board. Ever. Ever. And you've all heard me say how many times on my way home, my flights are missed, my flights are delayed, and it takes me hours and hours and hours to get back home. So that can happen on the way to your vacation too. So yeah, I feel real sorry for this family, but when you fly in the day of, you are definitely asking for trouble. And yes, the airline goofed up. But had you flown in the day before, you probably would have been okay. Well, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you think the airline owes her more than just her refunds? Do you think she has any kind of chance of getting her refunds? Personally, I don't think she has a ghost chance because of the way the regulations are written for airlines and people. We just don't have the fighting power to fight their lawyers. They have more money than we could ever dream of. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.